Hello.
Hello.
You can hear me okay? You hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I guess in this case we can jump in and get started straight away. So hello LinkedIn. Hello potential hackathon participants and anyone else that might be joining us. So my name is Stuart Gill. I'm a product manager at Leanspace, and I'm joined by Rick. We'll talk a little bit about his background in a few minutes. But first of all, I wanted to talk about why we're doing this live stream. So Leanspace is hosting our second annual hackathon. And as part of that, we wanted to give you a bit more context about the use case and a bit about the real world challenges that the hackathon is aiming to tackle. So before we get into that, I'll introduce Rick, our guest. So he's with Constellar. Rick has a PhD in space systems engineering from Politecnico di Milano and an MBA in innovation management from Frankfurt School of Finance and Management. He has quite a long career, so already 10 years of experience in the space sector as a systems engineer and program manager, where he's worked across academia, the corporate world, and the startup world, managing both engineering and R&D teams for institutional and commercial space programs, always related to Earth observation. So currently at Constellar, he leads the deployment and development of the Hive constellation, a constellation of microsatellites, which is aimed at providing global land surface temperature monitoring.
Hi, Stuart. Thank you. Thank you for the nice introduction. Hi, everybody, and I'm glad to be here today.
So yeah, like I say, we want to give you a bit more context about the hackathon. So one thing which we want to do is provide some clarifications and also explain the context. So before we get started with the hackathon details, let's start with the bigger picture. And for that, obviously, I'm going to solicit the understanding of our guest, Riccardo. So let's begin by talking about Earth observation. Obviously, this is something where we'll be tackling this subject in the hackathon. So Rick, maybe you can tell everyone who doesn't know, what is Earth observation? What practical uses does it have? And how does that impact us here on Earth?
Yes, sure. As the name suggests, Earth observation is about monitoring our planet, right? Monitoring climate, biosphere, atmosphere, and also for some use cases, the influence of human activities and their effects on the environment. These, of course, help us build better understanding, better physical models, for example, observe environmental phenomena, and also mitigate the impact that we have on the planet. But I would say most of all, Earth observation is about providing insights to make more informed decisions based on data rather than intuition. And today is even more important. Take climate change, for example. It is modifying the boundary condition and the reliability of our forecasts based on past conditions. So, such as seasonality, for example. Therefore, decisions based on heritage and standard practices are just not working anymore. And let's think about temperature, for example, which is also our core expertise. So temperature is one of the primary factors affecting pollination or the rate of plant growth and development. In other words, plants and crops have different optimal temperature for growth depending on their climate zone. And adverse environmental conditions such as heat waves or freeze, can lead to potential losses of crop that can be up to 70% within the survival temperature range. And this, of course, can have huge impact on our food resources and food system. And taking it even further, very little is known about the combination of different stress factors, but we certainly know that the effects of the combined stresses are more than the sum of the just the single stress. So it becomes necessary to understand and to be able to model this phenomena and to routinely monitor physical variables on our planet, of our land, of our ecosystem, such as land surface temperature, to be able to react timely to changes with respect to nominal conditions.
Okay. So basically, it sounds like Earth observation, in a nutshell, is delivering data-driven insights about our world. And obviously, at Constellar, you're playing a role in this, specifically with the launch of the Hive constellation. So you yourself are the leader of this. So what specific insights is Constellar aiming to provide with the Hive constellation?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for this question. So Constellar is going to provide water monitoring service at scale, which is optimized in particular for agriculture and for crop irrigation management. And in turn, we tackle food security, basically. In fact, ineffective water management is the number one threat to our global food system today. Just think that today 70% of freshwater reserves in the world are used in agriculture, and 40% of these resources are just wasted, for example, in over irrigation or inefficient infrastructure. So this amounts to more than 200 billion euro losses today without even considering opportunity costs that arise from this wasted water. So with climate change, but also other trends, macro trends such as increasing population, changing demographics, the water crisis will become even worse in the next decades. We estimate that by 2030, water demand will exceed supply by 40%, which is quite astonishing. With our constellation and our downstream services, which are based on our proprietary thermal infrared data and the derived analytics, we are going to provide a water monitoring service that is globally scalable, affordable, reliable, but is most of all based on physical measurement at field level. And this allows observing symptoms rather than damages, and therefore this is actionable. In other words, we can see vegetation and water stress before it becomes days to week in advance before it becomes visible to the human eye, but also to visible sensors, and this means that we can react on it and mitigate the effects. Does it
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it sounds like Consular are tackling some
Mm.
pretty important problems for our world today. I don't think we're giving too much away if we say that since we're partnering with Consular for the hackathon, it's going to be based around some kind of scenario which is addressing these types of issues. But you explained, like, for example, the issues we have, but how does space infrastructure fit into this problem? So what part do space operations play in all this?
Yes, sure. So we just talked about climate change and its consequences. So these consequences are more and more evident, like the recent heat waves or drought in Europe that caused enormous crop losses, wildfires, floodings, and so on. So space infrastructure, such as constellations dedicated to Earth observation like ours, needs to be operated in a way that can actually monitor this phenomena and is flexible enough to meet these fast changes, but also in a way that allows providing repeatable, reliable measurement of the condition of our ecosphere and of these areas that are impacted. And it is not just about the sensors in space, but it's the entire end-to-end chain from planning and tasking the satellites on ground down up to the satellites and down again to data downlink, processing, dissemination to the final users. So Constellar is not only a data analytics company, it's also a satellite operator. And for us, operations are key to provide our service according to our customer needs in a timely and reliable manner.
Yeah, okay. So I think this is something which our hackathon participants will get experience in doing as well during the challenge. But so maybe I can just ask you one last question as well. Why did Constellar decide to join the Leanspace Hackathon?
Well, it's definitely a great opportunity for us to meet students and young professionals interested in working in the field and in contributing to fighting some of the biggest challenges that we have today. In fact, we have special internship opportunities for some of the participants, and also some other interesting rewards for the winning teams that I'm not going to mention today. I guess we leave it as surprises. But apart from that, another reason is for sure to spread even further the awareness about the need for action that we all need to take to foster sustainable development, to guarantee food security, and in general the well-being of future generation and of our planet. But I look forward to seeing the results that will come out of this challenge, and how flexibly and timely the constellation can be tasked to image farmland, forestry, and other areas that need routine monitoring, and to be able to react to these extreme weather events that we mentioned, but also to optimize the use of precious resources such as water.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, thanks very much for your insights and the work you do as well. I think it really drives home the importance, not just of the work you do, but also the impact of all of us here on Earth as well, especially since these are becoming increasingly concrete problems. So yeah, thank you very much, Rick. And for everyone listening as well. Yeah. So obviously for everyone listening, if you're inspired by Rick's words and you want to take part in a hackathon that addresses these kind of issues, good news, we have some key details about how you can join and a bit more detail as well about what's actually in the hackathon. So what you'll be doing to be part of it. So give me just a couple of minutes, I can explain. So the goal of the hackathon is really to image the Earth via satellites. So you'll be provided with a constellation and you will respond to requests which are submitted by the Space Tech Expo attendants. So you'll be inside Space Tech Expo for the whole 2 or 3 days of the conference. In the main hall, you'll have access to go and explore and speak to people, but you'll also be interacting amongst other teams and with these attendants in real time, who will give you requests for capturing images. The timeline of the hackathon is that for the first part, you work remotely. So you sign up, and I think it begins on the 7th, which is when you'll start to build the application. So just beforehand, we'll give you some tutorials, we'll provide some supports, and we have tech support as well. But this is basically where you kick off and you start developing your application. And then at Space Tech Expo, you'll all arrive, so you'll be physically on site. The good news is that Leanspace does provide provides all accommodation. And then you'll stress test the app for the 2 to 3 days with new challenges arriving over the course of the judging period. So I won't give anything away, but there'll be new challenges which you have to respond to, ways to modify the app, ways to modify the constellation. But yeah, you'll find out during the event. In terms of how you're judged, so we have a team of well-known names in the industry, so great profiles. Very good to have their feedback on what you build and interact with them as well. You'll be judged on several criteria. So one of them will be the performance in providing images. So how fast you can get the image, how accurate you are. There'll also be a judgment for innovation in the processes you present. So this means, for example, how innovative is your operational concepts or the application design. So obviously you're going to build an app, and how innovative that is can be judged. And obviously, we also have the standard judging criteria of your teamwork and presentation skills. We obviously strongly encourage you to join. It's a great event. It gives you a lot of exposure. There are internship possibilities at Constellar and Leanspace. We have real space operations knowledge, which you'll learn, and also real space operations challenges, which you'll tackle. And during the conference, as I say, you have full access to explore. You can go around, you can meet space companies, and generally understand what it's like to be part of the space industry. It's a super social event. We ran this last year. We had some great feedback. A lot of people still keep in touch with us, keep in touch with each other. So yeah, I really recommend creating a little bit of a community around this. I really invite you to register. You'll be able to find a link in the description here or in the comments. Otherwise, you can also find it on the Leanspace website. I think that's everything from us now. If there's any questions from the viewers, I'm happy to tackle them. So you have to get them in quick. But otherwise, I want to thank Rick. It was really interesting to hear what you're up to at Constellar and understand a bit more about your work and the applications it has for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Leanspace, for having us.
Okay, so if there's no more questions, then I think we'll call it a day, and I hope to see you all there. Cheers.